The first thing I heard that morning was not my alarm. It was my phone buzzing with an unknown number. I almost ignored it until the man said, "Good morning, ma'am. I'm calling from the police." My stomach dropped. The night before, my parents had told me the dog needed feeding, the plants needed watering, and I had to stay home while everyone else went on vacation. I asked one question. "Why me?" My sister smiled and said, "That's your role in this house." So I left, by sunrise. Someone had turned my front door into a crime scene. My name is Julia Hartwell, and by 35, I had learned how to look calm even when something inside me was breaking. I worked as a financial risk analyst, which meant I spent my days reading patterns other people missed. Late payments, sudden withdrawals, quiet changes in behavior before everything collapsed. It was ironic, really, because the biggest pattern in my own life had been sitting across from me at my parents' glass coffee table for years. My father, Robert, liked things polished, polished shoes, polished stories, polished family photos where everyone smiled like nobody had ever cried in the kitchen. My mother, Margaret, knew how to make guilt sound like love. She could tilt her head, soften her voice, and make a demand feel like a prayer. Then there was my older sister, Vanessa. Vanessa had always been treated like something fragile and precious. If she forgot a bill, Dad called it stress. If she ruined plans, Mom called it anxiety. If she needed help, the whole room turned toward me. Julia will handle it. Julia is responsible. Julia understands. Those words followed me from high school hallways to college dorm rooms to my apartment in a gated community in Phoenix. They followed me even after I built my own life, paid my own rent, bought my own furniture, and stopped asking them for anything. That night, the house smelled like Margaret's lemon cleaner and the expensive coffee she only served when she wanted something. Suitcases sat near the front door, shiny and open-mouthed. Vanessa's sunglasses were already pushed on top of her head, like she was halfway to Europe before dinner even started. My father slid a yellow sheet of paper across the table. At first, I thought it was an itinerary. It was not. It was a list. Feed the dog morning and night. Water the plants every day. Check the side gate. Bring in the mail. Walk through the house every evening. Be available if the sprinkler company came. Send photos so Mom could relax. I stared at it, waiting for the joke. Dad cleared his throat and said, "The dog needs someone to feed it, and the plants need watering every day. Not would you mind. Not could we pay you, not even thank you. Just needs." Like my life was an empty space they could store their responsibilities in. I looked at the suitcases by the door, then at the list under my hand, and for the first time in years, I did not feel guilty. I felt tired, and tired can be dangerous when it finally turns quiet. I lifted the paper from the table and read it again, slower this time, hoping I had misunderstood. I had not. There was no return date written beside my name, no question mark, no mention of hiring a sitter or paying a neighbor kid to stop by. Just a full month of chores, handed to me like a family tradition. I looked at my mother first. She was folding a napkin into tiny squares, eyes down, pretending this had already been settled. Then I looked at Dad. Why me? When the whole family is going on vacation, the room went still. The ice in Vanessa's drink cracked softly. Adrian leaned back on the couch with that little smirk he used whenever he thought someone had stepped out of line. Dad's jaw tightened. "Because you live close. That's not an answer." Mom finally looked up, hurt already arranged across her face. "Julia, please don't start. We need one peaceful evening before our trip." That almost made me laugh. They could hand me a month of unpaid work, but my question was, what ruined the mood? Vanessa set her glass down too hard. "Oh my God, it's feeding a dog and watering plants. You act like we're asking you to rebuild the house. I have a job," I said. "I have my own place, my own schedule. You always make everything about yourself," she snapped. The sentence landed with an old, familiar weight. I remembered missing a college weekend trip because Mom said Vanessa was too emotional to be alone. I remembered washing every Thanksgiving dish while Vanessa posed for pictures in the dining room. I remembered being praised for handling things nobody else wanted to touch. Then Vanessa leaned forward, her voice sharp and clean. "That's your role in this house." For a second, I could hear the refrigerator humming behind us. I could smell the lemon cleaner on the table. I could see my father watching me like he was waiting for me to apologize for being offended. That was when something inside me went quiet. Not calm, not forgiving, just done. I folded the list once and placed it back on the glass. "No," I said, Mom's mouth opened. Dad said my name like a warning. Vanessa laughed under her breath and told me I would come around by morning. I didn't argue. I packed my things and left. The night air hit my face when I stepped outside, cold enough to sting. I drove back to my apartment with both hands tight on the wheel, thinking the worst part was over. The next morning, my phone rang from an unknown number. The man on the phone said there was a problem outside my apartment. Not inside. Outside. By the time I opened my front door, 3 neighbors were standing in the hallway in pajama pants and slippers, staring like I had dragged a jungle into the building. Huge ceramic pots lined the carpet from the elevator to my door. Soil was spilled in dark piles. Leaves were bent, snapped, crushed under the weight of other plants, and tied to my door handle was my parents' golden retriever. He was shaking so hard the metal tag on his collar kept clicking against the leash. A uniformed officer stood beside him with a notebook in one hand. Mr. Caldwell, the building manager, was there too, red-faced and furious. "Ma'am," the officer said, "is this your property?" "No," I said. My voice sounded flatter than I felt. Mr. Caldwell pointed toward the blocked hallway. "This is a fire hazard, if these are yours. We have a serious problem." Before I could answer, the officer handed me a folded note. "Julia agreed to care for the dog and plants while we are away. Please leave everything with her." Vanessa's handwriting, neat, pretty, poisonous. My pulse hammered in my ears, but I did not explain with emotion. I opened the family group chat and showed the officer the message I had sent the night before. "I am not staying behind. I am not responsible for the house, the dog, or the plants." He read it twice. His face changed. Mr. Caldwell stopped talking. The officer asked the building to check camera footage from the gate and elevator. While we waited, the dog pressed his head against my leg like he already knew he had been used. I crouched beside him. His water bowl was nowhere. His paws were dusty. He smelled like car upholstery and fear. "I'll take him inside for now," I said, "but I need the report to say I'm doing it to protect the animal. I am not accepting financial responsibility for what they dumped here." The officer wrote it down. That afternoon, I took the dog to a nearby veterinary clinic. I planned to pay for the exam, get him checked, and keep every receipt for my lawyer, but at the front desk, the receptionist looked at her computer and frowned. "There's already an authorization under your name," she said. I felt my stomach tighten. She printed the paperwork. My name was there. A signature that looked almost like mine sat at the bottom, approving future care, boarding, medication, and related bills. I had not signed it. Then I saw the sender information. The paperwork had been emailed from Adrian's work account. For a moment, the room tilted. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me. The dog whined softly beside my knee. I called Maya from the parking lot. "Do not call them," she said. "Do not yell. Get copies. Get confirmation. Then call Daniel." So I did. By sunset, I was sitting across from Daniel Cross, watching him read the papers without blinking. When he finally looked up, his voice was quiet. "Julia, this is not a family misunderstanding anymore." Daniel did not raise his voice. That scared me more than if he had. He spread the papers across his desk in neat little groups. Police report, photos from my hallway, the group chat, the clinic paperwork, the sender information from Adrian's work account. Every piece looked small by itself, but together they told a story my family could not cry their way out of. "They dumped the dog and plants at your door after you refused," Daniel said. "Then they tried to create paperwork making you financially responsible." I sat there with my hands wrapped around a paper cup of coffee that had gone cold. "So what do I do?" "You stop talking to them," he said. No calls, no texts, no emotional replies. Anything they send goes to me. That night, Vanessa sent the first message. "You embarrassed Mom. I hope you're proud." I forwarded it to Daniel. Then came Dad. "Fix this before your mother has a panic attack." Forwarded. Then Mom. "We are boarding soon. Please don't punish the dog for your anger." Forwarded. For 2 days. I said nothing, and silence drove them wild. By the third morning, Vanessa changed tactics. She posted on the community app for my building, using a picture of the golden retriever looking sad beside a blanket. She wrote that I had promised to care for the family dog, then cruelly backed out at the last second. She said they had been forced to arrange emergency care from overseas, and she added a fundraiser link for unexpected pet expenses. I stared at the post until my thumb hurt from pressing the side of my phone. There were comments underneath. "Poor dog. Family should be there for each other. Some people have no heart." My cheeks burned. I wanted to type everything. I wanted to post the photos of the hallway, the note, the police report, all of it. But Daniel's voice was in my head. Do not fight a lie in the mud when you can bury it with records. So I closed the app. Grace Miller, my neighbor down the hall, did not. Grace had been standing in her robe that morning when the officer arrived. She had seen the soil on the carpet. She had heard Mr. Caldwell complaining about the blocked hallway. She remembered the dog tied to my door. Under Vanessa's post, Grace wrote one sentence. If Julia agreed to take the dog, why were the police outside her apartment before 8 in the morning? The comments slowed. Then someone asked for receipts. Someone else asked why a fundraiser was needed if the dog was already with family. By lunchtime, the mood had shifted. By dinner, the fundraiser had been frozen for review. Vanessa deleted 2 comments. Grace reposted screenshots. That was the first crack. The second came from Adrian. He had not flown out with the rest of the family. He claimed he had a few work appointments to finish before joining them overseas. What he really had was panic. Daniel had sent a formal complaint about the forged authorization and the use of a work account to the appropriate licensing office. The clinic had confirmed the submission time. The building had preserved camera footage. Mr. Caldwell had added his own statement about the hallway hazard. Adrian did what arrogant people do when paperwork starts closing in. He tried to scare me in public. It was just after 10 in the morning when security called my desk. "There's a man in the lobby asking for you. He's recording." My body went cold, but my voice did not change. "I'll come down." When the elevator doors opened, I saw him near the reception desk in a gray suit, phone raised. Face flushed with anger, the marble floor made his voice carry. "She's holding family property," he said to anyone who would listen. "She's unstable, and I want this documented." Several employees had stopped walking. The receptionist looked terrified. Adrian turned the camera toward me the second he saw my face. "There she is," he said. "Tell everyone why you're trying to ruin your own family." I walked forward slowly. My heels clicked once, twice, 3 times across the lobby. "Turn the camera off," the security guard said. Adrian smirked. "This is a public accountability moment." "No," I said. "This is you recording inside a private workplace after sending forged payment authorization from your professional account." His smile twitched. I looked directly at his phone. "Keep recording if you want. Daniel will add it to the harassment record." For the first time since I had known him, Adrian had no clever answer. The security team stepped between him and the elevators. They did not touch him. They did not trap him. They simply followed procedure: no access beyond the lobby. No filming employees. Police called for a disturbance if he refused to leave. Adrian lowered the phone. "You don't know what you're doing," he said, but his voice had lost its weight. "I know exactly what I'm doing." He left before the police arrived. The lobby cameras kept what his phone did not. 3 weeks later, my family came home, sunburned, exhausted, angry. Their cards had not been completely shut down, but several large transactions had been delayed after the fraud complaint was flagged. Their hotel bill had taken hours to clear. A tour deposit had been held. Mom had sent 7 emails demanding I call someone and make it stop. I sent all 7 to Daniel. That Sunday afternoon, they gathered in the courtyard of my building with coffee, plastic cups, and fake concern. Dad told neighbors there had been a misunderstanding. Mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Vanessa said the fundraiser issue was just a technical delay. I stood at the edge of the courtyard and watched them perform. Then Daniel arrived beside me with a court process server. The conversations thinned into silence. Vanessa saw the envelopes first. Adrian saw the server's face and stepped back. The man asked their names. Vanessa's mouth opened, but nothing came out. He handed the papers to her, then to Adrian. This is notice of a civil action involving false statements, improper fundraising, abandoned property, animal neglect, and forged financial authorization. The courtyard went still. Someone whispered. Forged? Grace crossed her arms. I told you something was wrong. A neighbor who had donated money asked Vanessa where it went. Dad turned toward me. Red-faced. Julia. Stop this right now. I looked at him, then at Mom, then at Vanessa clutching the envelope like it might bite her. For once, I did not feel small. You called it my role, I said. I called it evidence. No one moved. Not Vanessa, not Adrian, not my parents. The dog they used to trap me was safe upstairs in my apartment, sleeping on a clean towel with a full bowl of water beside him, and the family that had left him at my door was finally standing in front of everyone with nowhere left to hide. The court hearing was not dramatic in the way Vanessa wanted. There were no speeches, no tears that changed the facts, just papers, dates, camera footage, clinic records, messages, and a judge who had heard enough family excuses to know when love was being used as a cover. Vanessa was ordered to return every dollar collected through the fundraiser. She also had to cover the rounded costs tied to the clinic visit, hallway cleanup, building penalties, and a large part of my legal bills. Adrian tried to explain the authorization as a mistake. Daniel placed the email record in front of the judge. A mistake does not usually come from a professional account with my name forged at the bottom. The civil court did not take Adrian's license that day. That happened later, through the licensing review. But the ruling, the clinic confirmation, and the complaint were enough. He was suspended first, then, after the investigation. He lost the right to practice. My parents walked out of court smaller than I had ever seen them, not poor, not ruined, just exposed. The thing they loved most, their perfect family image, had cracked in public. As for the dog, the court recognized that I had protected him when they abandoned him. I was allowed to keep him. I named him Scout. A month later, I moved to another apartment in Phoenix. On my first morning there, Scout slept in a patch of sunlight near the window. No list on the table, no angry calls, no one deciding my role for me. Just quiet. And this time, the quiet belonged to me. For years, I thought being loved meant being useful, that if I carried enough, stayed quiet enough, gave enough, my family would finally see me. But love does not leave a dog tied to your door. Love does not forge your name and call it responsibility. If someone has ever assigned you a role you never chose, I hope you remember this. You are allowed to walk away. Share your story in the comments. And subscribe so you do not miss the next one.